So Michael Jackson does this thing at the beginning of most songs that he has, where he's all like, "Listen, you're a really cute girl, and I want to get to know you more, and sometimes when you touch me, it just gets, ooh!"
Welcome to the one and only everybody and the grandmas podcast. Motherfucker. Get ready for the experience of a lifetime. Chip.
And so with that, I think we'll start. Welcome. This is everybody and their grandma's podcast. I'm your host, the illustrious Mount Vidya. It's been a while. I figured I'd return to my roots and put a podcast out here, as it has technically been a year since the podcast has been out. I believe I started way back in, well, that was last October. But yeah, I started last October, so I figured I'd come back for you guys and give you a little something, give you a little something to keep you going. And plus two, the synchronicity of it all is a lot of people have been hitting me up about my podcast and asking questions about it. So I will preface this with this as it is a at will podcast. So as long as I'm able to create an episode each week, then I will put one out. But hopefully the plan is to have a couple, and then we're gonna do like a special themed episode for my roommate, my new roommate, who should hopefully be on the podcast one of these days. He's all into that ASMR stuff, so I'll tease a little bit, and we'll talk about, and we'll, yeah, well, we're talking about it right now. I mean, I'll tease it. It's some ASMR stuff, so that'll be interesting in the very least. But yeah, as far as podcasts go, hey, we're here. We're making it. It's a thing. This is an actual thing. It's been resurrected, much like Frankenstein, except I haven't had to rip apart a bunch of other podcasts to create my dangerous creature that I have here. This is all fresh and new, like I'm God making some sort of creation or another. I guess I'll apologize ahead of time. I have a throat cold, so that'll be fun for talking over at this point. Anyways, this is just gonna be a short little podcast, just very very intimate, just between me and you right here. It's true. The podcast has been in hiatus for a long time. Many of you are probably wondering what had happened to me in that time, because I don't know, you like hearing about my social life apparently. Basically, since the last podcast that I created, I just got busy doing stuff. I was working at a factory where that had 12-hour shifts, so 12-hour shifts really don't make for good days for creating stuff, because then on my days off that I had, I'd be doing shit. You gotta get stuff done. So here we are now. I have a different job, obviously, so I do have some extra time to get in and make a podcast. I think we're gonna start real short for the time being. I don't think they're gonna get any longer than maybe like 40 minutes. I'm gonna keep it short, but eventually I think we're gonna move to a video format for these things. I think you guys would appreciate it a lot more if it was in a video format, since I am uploading it to YouTube anyways. But it just feels, these things feel a little bit less or more free form than like an actual show would. So it doesn't make any sense for me to hold to a strict idea when it comes to the podcast. Anyways, so yeah, no, I had that factory job, and I moved into a new apartment. I got out of my old one because there was some bad juju with my ex roommates. At this point now, I don't even remember why I was so angry, but I was angry at the time, so it makes sense. So I moved in with two other guys who are awesome as fuck and should hopefully get on one of these podcasts. Like I said, it's a work in progress. I want to get a camera and I want to get at least two more mics so I can get somebody on mic, another person on mic. Um, but in addition to that, I also plan to upgrade my computer here pretty quick. So we'll see what happens with that. Um, yeah, it's not going great. It's a slow process, all right, but for the time being, this wireless headset microphone will have to work, even though it sounds like absolute garbage. And now that you're thinking about it, you can tell. I am gonna hope that my new room is a bit more soundproof than the previous one. This one doesn't have a giant window in front of where I'm recording to let in all that outside noise in. It's actually very cave-like and rounded. It's a neat little room. It extends forever. It's like I have my own little cave. Better than my mom's basement, as far as caves go. So I'll take that when I get it. Um, yeah. Um, hmm. What is our topic? Oh yeah. A topic that I just wanted to talk about real quick because I was bouncing some ideas around today. Originally, I was looking for a quote from somebody. I still never found who had said this quote, so just be careful on that level. Yes, so anyways, the quote is, we are all greater artists than we realize. Maybe Da Vinci said it, maybe some other people said it. If you know, leave a comment below, or yeah, in the chat, obviously, or on anywhere that you interact with me, and let me know, because I'm really curious, and Google did not help. But anyways, so I want to talk about we're all greater artists than we realize, and it's true. So this episode is all about sort of perspective and understanding how maybe not understanding how perspective works, but just like a thought study into how important I think perspective is. So I mean, to start, let's go with something easy. So your brain's firing all the time. You're constantly collecting information whether you realize it or not. And so it only makes sense to then use this information to then fuel your worldview. That's it at a basic level. And I'm not a psychologist or anything, so don't take my word on this or anything like that. But you're intaking hundreds and billions of information like every day through your eyes and stuff like that. So there was a old Zen master who had always posed a question to his new pupils whenever they would arise, and that question always is who is the master? Who makes the grass green? And the obvious answer on that one is, well, it's you. You are, cognating and making the world around you. You're not only making the grass green, but you're also making the sky blue and stuff like that. So it makes sense that people come to disagreements often with differing opinions, mostly because we have to then, take in all this data and then output it into our brain in a way that logically makes sense to us, or in some cases, unlogically. It happens. Anyway, I think a really good example of this, and I'm not gonna harp on this, and I'm just using it as an example, but I think a good um, example of this is the whole recent term sexual assault in quotation marks or three parentheses if you're hip and cool. Um, anyways, yeah. So it it happens that when you have a term like sexual harassment, that it is going to become misconstrued, or even actually more so not sexual harassment, sexual assault. Harassment has been pretty well defined by most HR departments in most workplaces, and maybe by the people at Californian universities. So I think they've got that one down pat. But anyways, sexual assault is this cover-all term for different things, from anywhere from something as simple as, say, you brushed up against somebody's boob, or um, on the opposite side, like actually physically raping somebody. But what most people go to, which is interesting, is the worst possible side of it, which is the rape side of it. And so everybody instantly wants to jump to that when usually these things, these are it's a myriad of things within the definition of sexual assault. Um, it's kind of interesting that the brain goes right to the most negative thing. You'd think you would have some, hope in humanity, and that maybe it's not too terrible. Not that I'm defending rapists or anything like that. You can take that. You can take these lines out of context. That's fine with me. I don't care. I'll defend myself. I don't mind saying complete bullshit. But anyways, so with this, everybody seems to have the most negative perspective on that sexual assault. So it does manage to get people riled up and then creates terrible situations that I don't think have any need to be brought up, or in a lot of cases are um, you know sticking points for a lot of people on what they think or what they believe. But nobody with this perspective thing, nobody is ever willing to take the initiative to possibly change their ideas on and their opinion of something or their perspective on it. So I definitely think we need more of that. I think I was listening today and something like 59 or 60% of most your average college kid believes that somebody who has a different opinion than them should not be allowed to talk in the classroom. Uh, that's not how we learn and grow. I feel like I've done an episode on this before now that I'm thinking about it. But anyways, that's not how we learn and grow. We have to be faced by these different perspectives to then put our own reality in check. So that way we know it's kind of like a self-test where you can check to see how you're doing compared to others, but comparatively, it's how fucking crazy am I compared to a fucking Bob next door in reality? Because we all, like I said, we're all the masters. So each of us especially thinks we're all pretty special, but it plays out in the way we then think also at the same time. So it I don't know. It's an interesting thought. This is this is really rough thoughts, so this is usually the place I go to with podcast to bang out some rough thoughts and put them into a physical form. Remember, words are just thoughts and it made physical, and once it's made physical, then there's no two ways around it that it really does exist. But anyways, yeah, so you're constantly checking and balancing your own perspectives based off of those around you, and some are good, some are pretty terrible. It's just the way it happens. For the most part, though, most people are willing to work on their ideas or change them, or also in times of need, people will completely 180 or completely change their ideas. That that's all right, but it's not great. I seem to be spacey today. Um, let's see here. So, yeah, most people I don't think are checking and balancing themselves on a regular basis when it comes to perspective. Whether we're locked into our boring echo chamber with those of us with like thoughts, which we usually, generally like because, obviously the human body likes homeostasis. So, we also strive for homeostasis when it comes to environment of ideas. We would much rather hear somebody, speak our truth or our perspective or a perspective that we think we agree with, more so than, having the opposite and really having to self-reflect on these things. So it it's interesting because then you run up along the same line of dialogue about perspective and thoughts and who is the master. We've been having a lot of that NPC talk going around where people are NPCs and they don't actually think with a monologue. Now, I don't know about you guys, but that's not at all what that blog post was about. And it's not even first of all, it's not even an article. It's a blog post that a guy wrote where he did a quick little study on the side for shits and giggles just to see what would happen. So that last time I checked, that doesn't make for a scholarly article or just even an article in general, even if it was something published in Psychology Today with a semi-decent study, which it was posted in Psychology Today, but it was posted under a blog post anyways. but that wasn't the fact that some people don't have the inner monologue wasn't what that guy was going for. He was more so going for that there's different ways of cognating, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. And I think he ends up using like bulimia as like a way to explain it better. What some of the things that your brain does when you intake visual information and how you process it. Like a bulimic person will really fixate. Up front they'll realize up front in the front part of the brain they'll realize like, oh, they're watching TV, and they'll get all the upfront information, but behind on the opposite side, maybe the back part of the brain. Not obviously the brain doesn't work like this, but um, they'll have a different thought that only picks up certain words and certain phrases. So everybody who's if a doctor's on TV talking about somebody being skinny or fat, they're going to pick up on the skinny part and hold on to that. So I don't know. It's just interesting the way people think about things. I guess how often do we really think about the way we think? You don't do it. You don't do it too often. I can guarantee you. I try to do it, but I usually can't get away with it. So if anything, just from this rant, I guess, just take away that start thinking about the way you think, and send in some self checks, self reflection, and stuff like that. It's not gonna hurt or anything. It'll probably be good for you. I don't know if meditation would help anybody, but that's usually clearing your mind, so that probably doesn't help. But sometimes you gotta go in there, like an editor, and edit your brain and cut out a couple things, and you'll might be better for it, or you might be worse for it. Who's to say until you get out in public? um, I can't. I hate giving advice on these things because I don't know. I don't know jack shit. So I'm gonna preface it with that. I think on that note, I think I'm gonna end it. I think I'm gonna end it early here. Like I said, these are just gonna be little quick ones, little quick boys. I don't I don't see this podcast like blowing up or anything. Like we'll have a longer form one. Maybe if I have a guest in the studio room, still the same thing. Until then, I think I'm gonna keep it short, especially once I get a camera. I think that's the biggest thing is once we get a camera in here and we have multiple mics that actually work well, then we will start with the what's the word I'm looking for? Then we'll start with the longer shows. But until then, this is all the video you're gonna get. Ooh, yeah. Um, so yeah, like I said, this isn't gonna be like 100% every week thing. It's gonna be a thing where like I crank out when I get some time. Um, I get home from work and I wanna do other things. I wanna catch up on reading. I've been so far behind on reading stuff, which you guys are probably interested in that. I'm reading nothing crazy, but The Gaelic Wars by Julius Caesar, and I'm still on that stupid occult book that takes for fucking ever to read because I'm lazy about it. But yeah, The Gaelic Wars by Julius Caesar. Give it a read. It's interesting, in the very least. I guess that's a tiny week recap for you. We'll get a longer one maybe next week. Um, but yeah, like I said, so I'm gonna try and get more of these out. I'm definitely gonna try especially because my one roommate Chase definitely wants his special episode to happen because he's really into those ASMR things. So yeah, I'll get you excited for that. What's to come? A sick ASMR video. Oh yeah, it's gonna be amazing. All right, but anyways, well, I've been your host, Mom Video. This has been everybody and their grandma's podcast. I hope you guys all have a great night. Bye bye.